I caught the entrepreneurship bug when I was 10 years old. I noticed that the senior citizens in my neighborhood were still using their iPhones like phones. Knowing that these handheld devices could do so much more, I made it my mission to teach others how to use their smart devices. I identified a gap in the market, I shared my skills, and I earned $20 on my first day. I was hooked. But as time went on, I found a deeper meaning in my work. For instance, I helped a grandmother connect with her grandson who was living in another city using a video call. I helped another grandmother who was recovering from surgery to install games on her phone to help her pass the time. Enabling seniors to use technology to enhance their lives was quite fulfilling. Duty called again in March 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Before the pandemic, I was tutoring some students with the traditional model of going to their houses and helping them out. However, once virtual learning started, a number of students began reaching out to me and asking me for remote assistance. Now this got me thinking about all the other students out there who were struggling to stay on top of their schoolwork during the new normal. Once again, I identified a gap in the market and I wanted to be a part of the solution. I saw an opportunity to help struggling students that couldn't afford quality help. To capture this opportunity, I implemented a unique business model where we offer 30 minutes of free tutoring to every student every week. Today, we have 15 tutors donating their own time and skills. And together, we have provided over $10,000 worth of tutoring sessions across the country. By leading these two companies, I have learned that it is possible to both make money and make the world a better place. Leading a company with social impact in mind is not only ethical, but it can also be profitable. And this philosophy could transform how our economy operates. If consumers, investors, and business leaders pay attention, tomorrow's capitalism may look very different than it does today. But first, I want to start by taking a step back in asking, what is capitalism? Capitalism is the free market economy, where private citizens are free to buy and sell goods as they please. Now, in history class, you probably learned that the biggest challenge to capitalism was communism. Countries either fell into the capitalist or communist camp, and these two economic systems clashed with each other. However, in modern times, capitalism has prevailed. In the current world order, capitalism is king. But it's practiced very differently across the world. America, Scandinavia, India, and China all have very different capitalist societies in 2021. To paint a better picture of how capitalism can vary, we're going to compare two types of capitalism: shareholder capitalism and stakeholder capitalism. Shareholder capitalism is the form of capitalism that is standard in America today. It rests on the idea of shareholder primacy, the idea that shareholders come first before all others. Now, shareholders is anyone who owns a portion of the company. They stand to gain financially if the company is successful. These shareholders include executives, investors, and anyone else with a stock in the company. The idea of shareholder capitalism became popular around the 1970s, with a major champion being economist Milton Friedman. His 1970 New York Times article titled "The Social Responsibility of Business is to Increase Its Profits" influenced the business world dramatically. Friedman believed that if businesses did things that were good for the world but didn't increase profits, they were stealing money that shareholders deserved. In other words, every penny spent hosting work parties, reducing environmental impact, or giving out Christmas bonuses caused a direct and negative impact on shareholders' returns. Therefore, activities like those were strictly prohibited. This system of shareholder capitalism benefits the shareholders. If society's only concern for businesses is making money, then shareholder capitalism is the perfect choice. In America today, the median salary of workers is $67,000, while the average annual salary of top CEOs is $21.3 million. This means that on average, top CEOs make 320 times more than their workers. The reality is, shareholder capitalism has worked in America. The majority of the wealth is concentrated among those who own a share of successful companies. This graph shows income inequality throughout time, and at this point, it starts to increase rapidly. What happened there? Shareholder capitalism gained popularity. While it's not the only factor that contributed to this increase in income inequality, the gradual mindset shift towards profit above all else certainly played a role. But what about the pre-1970 part of this graph? Many of our early industrialists actually practiced a different type of capitalism. It was something resembling stakeholder capitalism. Stakeholder capitalism is a form of capitalism that serves to benefit the stakeholders of the company, which is everyone affected by the operations of the business. These stakeholders include customers, employees, suppliers, the community, and even the environment. Businesses still must turn a profit, but they must do so while considering how their decisions impact society. The system of stakeholder capitalism has a rich history in America before the 1970s. Many of our early industrialists determined that considering stakeholders was valuable both to society and to profit. In the 18th century, Dr. Thomas Bond collaborated with Benjamin Franklin to create the nation's first hospital. This hospital was unique because its purpose was not only to provide care to the upper class who could afford it, but also to provide free care to the lower class who could not afford it. Our healthcare system's earliest roots stem from a place of balancing social impact and profit. In the early 20th century, industrialist Henry Ford said, "There is one rule for the industrialist, and that is, make the best quality of goods possible at the lowest cost possible while paying the highest wages possible." Ford realized a lesson that still holds true today. Paying workers better makes them more productive, they stick with you longer, and it benefits their lives. In Scandinavia, there is no minimum wage because businesses pay a livable wage without any government intervention. Businesses that do not pay a livable wage are unable to sustain their workers. Scandinavian businesses have adopted ideas from stakeholder capitalism. In the mid-20th century, John Gardner, president of the Carnegie Corporation at the time, said, "Wealth is not new, neither is charity, but the idea of using private wealth imaginatively, constructively, and systematically to attack the fundamental problems of mankind is new." Gardner saw the potential of privately amassed wealth to make a social impact. In present-day America, the government spends $750 billion on social services each year, and $470 billion is donated to charities annually. While these might seem like a lot of money, it's peanuts compared to the $17 trillion of privately managed wealth that goes towards sustainable investments. This is why there's such a massive opportunity here with considering stakeholders in the business decisions. Even making small changes in an existing company has the potential to go beyond where charities or the government could ever be. For instance, a major American retailer is currently installing renewable energy and consuming less electricity in their stores by installing LEDs. While these changes are good for the world, they're also saving the company an estimated $1 billion per year. Profit is important to keep people incentivized to work hard and to put food on the table. But making money doesn't mean that you have to harm society along the way. Profit and social benefit are not mutually exclusive. From start to finish of a product, there are opportunities to make decisions with stakeholders in mind. It can start with sustainably sourcing your materials, then go to ethically producing the product and using biodegradable packaging. In the corporation itself, you could have an inclusive workplace, an innovative business model, or reinvest profits back into the community. Business leaders can consider stakeholders in all aspects of their company. Ultimately, I call for a renaissance or a rebirth of stakeholder capitalism. The good news is that society is beginning to realize what we have on our hands. On the consumer side, 66% of adults say they are willing to pay more for an ethical product, according to a Nielsen report. Employees are more willing to stick with companies that benefit society and have favorable policies for their workers. On the corporate side, there's a new type of corporation called a B corporation, which gives companies the flexibility to balance benefit to the community and profit. The long-term stock exchange is emerging as an alternative to the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ for social impact companies to go public. Today, my virtual tutoring company is still operating, and we are still helping students as they transition back into in-person school. I have also started a new venture where we are creating portable renewable energy generators that harness the power of running water to power devices. Our mission is to expand the reach of the power grid with clean, sustainable energy. I am embracing stakeholder capitalism in my companies, and I strive to positively impact people's lives. Again, shareholder capitalism has worked in America. But are you happy with the results? If you feel a need for a change, you're certainly not alone. I'm doing my part in my companies today. I encourage you to join me and use your influence as a consumer, as an employee, or maybe even as a business leader to make small changes that could have a big impact on your stakeholders. It's time we return to the days where capitalism benefited society, not the other way around. It's time to stop being servants to profit and start making an impact with our work. It's time for the renaissance of stakeholder capitalism. Thank you.